million.
952 health and care workers are among those who have died from the virus in the UK since the start of the pandemic. We're joined now by the General Secretary of the Royal College of Nursing, Professor Dame Donna Kinnair. Good morning to you, Professor Dame Kinnair. Shall we just start with your reflections 1 year on since the pandemic was declared?
Well, it's been a sad year, hasn't it? Just even thinking about the nurses that we've lost or the public that we've lost. But one of the things that I'm really proud of is the nursing profession. Up until now, everyone's known a nurse, that you've got them in your family, but not everybody has known what a nurse does. And I think this last year has really demonstrated that we're not, handmaidens or people that just do what doctors orders, or we're not heroes or angels, but we actually carry out a safety critical job. And we've given all our all to treat patients throughout this whole time. And some of us have paid that ultimate sacrifice, but we continue. Others of us are facing burnout, and which is why now it's important that we get some opportunity to rest and recover as we come out of this pandemic.
Well, I want to pick up on those who have, as you say, paid the ultimate price, 952. This morning there will be an online memorial held, won't there, for health workers who have died with COVID-19. Can you tell me about that?
Well, we're going to talk about and honour those in our profession that have actually carried out their job and paid for it with their lives. We're going to have a minute's silence. We're going to talk about them. We're going to encourage those members of our profession to carry on, because we know that we have been vital every step of the way throughout this pandemic.
You spoke about burnout. What can be done now to help? And I suppose also you have the benefit of hindsight, just a year, but the benefit nevertheless. What could have been done better to prevent the situation that the nursing profession is now facing?
Well, I think for me, ultimately, what it's demonstrated, and the Royal College of Nursing has for years been saying to the government, successive governments actually, that we do need to make sure we've got an adequate supply of nurses. And actually, what we know is we entered that pandemic very short of nurses. So for me, what could have been done is when they attacked the way in which the education was funded, and that stopped so many people from the older generations coming into nursing. Those things should not have been done. They should have listened to the profession and listened to the nurses that we were talking to. And then we probably would have had more nurses in supply rather than having to call people out of retirement, put students on the front line. I mean, you can't say never, because we may have still have needed to do those things, but it's woefully inadequate to have gone into a pandemic like this with not enough nurses to nurse the population.
The government has announced its recruitment drive for nurses. How successful, or what success are you seeing of that?
Well, I think after every pandemic, we know that the nursing profession has grown, but it still takes 3 years to train a nurse. And what I'm really concerned about is the fact that we hold on to those nurses, those experienced nurses that we have, and we know that they're suffering from burnout, and we want to appeal to them to stay in the profession because their skills and their experience is what is needed.
Do you think people see nursing as an attractive career? Not do they respect it? Because I think that's obvious and is a given. But do you think they see it as an attractive career to enter?
Well, although, we hear all this from the government about the average wage is 33,000, across that, there are many divides. And what we do know about our profession is, unlike other graduate professions, we do not progress. So we're always hearing this talk about progression, but most of the nurses that belong to the Royal College are in the Band 5 section, which is at the starting point of our salary. So while we might have huge divides among that, the average wage that we hear quoted often doesn't apply to most nurses.
You said that nurses aren't heroes, and they were hailed as heroes with the whole Clap for Carers earlier in this year. When you look back on Clap for Carers, what do you think it did?
Well, I always think there's a problem when you identify someone as a hero, because superheroes, we know, often pay that ultimate sacrifice with their lives. I feel that it's very all well and good of clapping for hardworking NHS staff. And to be honest, it kept many of us going and many of us appreciated it. But what it does mean sometimes is that when we see all that, they say they hear us. The Prime Minister says he hears us, but he clearly isn't listening, because actually what we want as nurses is the same thing that the Prime Minister and everybody else in this country wants. That is for us to be able to deliver safe nursing care. We can't do that without the right numbers, because actually we know that if you've got one nurse looking after 5 ITU patients, something is going to go wrong. And I think what nurses are asking for is us to be able to deliver care in a safe system, because actually we're registered professionals, and when something goes wrong, we often pay the ultimate price with our registration. It is right for us to demand that we have safety, the right numbers, to make sure that patients are kept safe.
Is the system not safe now?
Well, we know that we didn't have enough as we went into this pandemic. We know that we've brought people back. Whether the system is safe, we will soon hear about it, because we know that as we do an inquiry into this, we'll see what parts of the system were safe and not. What I do know is nurses tell me every day that they're having to deal with many more patients than recommendations or standards say that they should have to deal with.
Professor Dame Donna Kinnair, thank you very much for your time with us today.
Thank you.
Let's see, time now 7:39. Mike, have you got some messy magic?
Oh, we have in a
coming
minute.
up for
Oh,
us?
my goodness, yes. And it's a goodbye to Messi for this season's Champions League as well. More on that in a moment. But sometimes, you know, getting away from it all, a trip somewhere, a change of environment can make the world a difference. Most of us at the moment, of course, can only dream of that. But lucky Liverpool players, as elite athletes, they can go on trips. So they were playing their home leg last night in Hungary, 1,300 miles away from Anfield.
You need to explain that.
Worked
A home match away.
because of coronavirus restrictions, and on the Champions League matches. Yeah, this change of scene, it really seemed to suit Liverpool last night, who left their struggles at home in the Premier League to keep alive their European dream of reaching the quarter-finals of the Champions League. Yeah, this was their home leg, played in Budapest, and they found their scoring boots again, beating German side RB Leipzig 2-0. Mo Salah with their opener there. Relief for him finding the net once more before Sadio Mane made it 4-0 on aggregate then over the two legs. And Jurgen Klopp says they can still win this competition, even though their dismal domestic form might suggest